There is a woman in Kyoto whose kitchen counter holds two things: a small ceramic bowl for her rings, a single plant in a terracotta pot near the window. That is all. Every morning when she enters the room, something happens that is foreign to most of us. Her shoulders drop. Not because her kitchen is bigger, not because it's newer, not because she has more storage space or better appliances, but because in this kitchen there is nothing that does not belong there. No stack of plastic bags in a drawer that hasn't opened properly for years. No collection of cups with chipped rims that you always meant to throw away. No kitchen appliance on the counter that you used once on a Tuesday and have been pushing aside ever since, searching for a place it was never going to find. Nothing. And somewhere else, in a kitchen exactly like yours, someone is opening a sticking drawer, looking for a spatula that should take 3 seconds to find, moving the waffle maker out of the way for the 4th morning in a row, and starting the day with a friction so familiar they have long stopped noticing it at all. What if the difference between these two kitchens has nothing to do with size, money, or time, but with the quiet, persistent question of whether an object truly belongs here or is simply here because no one ever put it away? The Danshari principle. Behind the clarity of Japanese kitchens is not aesthetic minimalism, not a design trend that appeared on Pinterest a few years ago. It is something much older, much simpler, the principle of Danshari. 3 characters that roughly translate as refuse, discard, separate. Not a one-time decluttering, not a weekend project where you stuff everything into garbage bags, but a daily, lifelong relationship with what you let into your space. What deserves its place? What may stay? A kitchen where every object was consciously chosen and is not simply there because it once arrived and never left. Psychology knows this phenomenon. Disorder is not purely a visual problem. Visual chaos increases stress hormones, reduces concentration, and amplifies the feeling of being overwhelmed. The brain constantly scans the space. Every visible disorder remains active in the background as an open task. A kitchen that works against you rather than with you is no small matter. It is a constant, barely conscious burden. This is not about renouncing possessions for their own sake. It is about consciously shaping what you own. Nothing you are about to read is a call to empty your kitchen. It is an invitation to ask a question 15 times, a question that may never have been put to you in quite this way. 15 quiet decisions. The chipped. In almost every kitchen you will find a plate with a hairline crack, a cup with a small chip on the rim. You keep them because throwing them away seems wasteful, because they technically still work, because the damage is minor. Japan has a word for the beauty of the transient, wabi-sabi. It is often misunderstood as an invitation to keep what is broken, but it is exactly the opposite. Wabi-sabi is the understanding that an object has lived a full life, and that its life is now complete. The chipped cup is not wabi-sabi. Wabi-sabi is the recognition that it has served its purpose, and that it is time to let it go. The expired. The spice you bought 3 years ago for a single recipe and which has been sitting in the far corner of the cupboard ever since. The sauce you meant to try again. Japan knows the principle of shun, seasonality, mindfulness for what belongs to this moment, rather than accumulating what belongs to another time. A spice that has lost its potency is not just a waste of space in a Japanese kitchen. It is a small untruth, something that pretends to be useful when it no longer is. Environmental psychology researchers found that expired food items are among the largest sources of so-called decision load in households. Every time you see them, the brain registers a micro-decision. Do I need to deal with this? The answer is always, not now. And not now becomes never. The duplicates. In your drawer, there are probably 3 wooden spoons that all do the same job, for ladles of slightly different sizes. A garlic press you never use. A citrus juicer that has been silent for years. Japanese cuisine knows the tamagoyaki pan, a small rectangular vessel made for exactly one dish and used every morning. One tool, one purpose, absolute reliability. The superfluous duplicates are not harmless fillers. Every time you search for the right spatula, You pay a small tax on your morning, a tax you have long stopped noticing. Keep the one you always reach for. Let the rest go. The mountain of bags. The plastic bags nested inside each other in a drawer, occasionally used as garbage bags, mostly just accumulating. What is interesting, researchers studying avoidance behavior in households found that objects connected to unresolved intentions, things we keep because we might still need them, create a phenomenon they call ambient guilt, a subconscious, diffuse feeling of guilt. The bag drawer is not storage. It is the visible protocol of every good intention that never became action. Japan simply removed the temptation by abolishing the bags. The one-time appliance, the spiralizer, the quesadilla maker, the mini waffle irons, the smoothie blender that came with 12 pieces, of which 4 remain. These appliances were bought for a promise that was never fulfilled. And every time you see them, you see the version of yourself who would use them. And that costs something. Japan built the Tamagotchi pan for one dish and used it every morning. The West built the spiralizer for one Tuesday and called it a lifestyle change. The difference is visible in every kitchen. The drawer without a name. The famous drawer for everything that has no place. Batteries. A rubber band. A pen that might still write. A key for something you can no longer identify. A charging cable for a phone you no longer own. Princeton neuroscience has proven that unresolved visual clutter, objects without a specific purpose or place, competes for neural resources and measurably reduces the brain's ability to focus. The drawer doesn't even have to be open. Knowing it exists is enough. Japan has no such drawer. Not because Japanese people have fewer things, but because every object was given a home before it was allowed into the kitchen. A thing with a home does not become junk. The drawer is what happens when that decision was never made. The dish rack. The dish rack. On the counter. Permanent resident. Never quite empty because clean dishes arrive faster than they get put away. Standing water underneath. The counter never looks quite finished, even when the kitchen is clean. Japan solved this problem with a different question. Not, where do we put the dish rack? But, why does the counter have to hold this at all? The answer was the hanging cabinet above the sink. Dishes are placed there after washing. A built-in heating element dries them, and they are stored where they will be used next. Off the counter. Invisible. Ready. A study from Cornell University found that visible clutter on kitchen counters directly correlates with the mental state people bring to cooking. An overloaded counter doesn't just look messy, it affects how you feel while cooking. Japan chose a different solution. Not a better dish rack, but the decision that the counter should get its space back. The mismatched collection. The different containers in the refrigerator. The old takeout containers that no longer close properly. The 3 different sizes of storage boxes that don't stack together. The lid that no longer fits. Japanese kitchen organization works with uniform, clear containers. Same brand, same shape, same sizes, all with lids that work. Not because it's more beautiful, but because every deviation is a decision. Which lid fits here? Is this the right size? Can I see what's inside? Every morning when you open the refrigerator, your brain does this calculation. Japan removed the calculation. A Japanese refrigerator is not organized to look beautiful. It is organized so that every decision about dinner is made in under 5 seconds. Beauty is the result, not the goal. The unread. The cookbooks you never opened. Or opened once, found a recipe, cooked it twice, and haven't touched since. Japan has a word for the cultural habit of buying books and not reading them. Sundaku. Originally, it described books in general, but it fits cookbooks perfectly. Because a cookbook bought with enthusiasm and left unread is not just an object taking up space. It is the cook you wanted to become, standing on your shelf and reminding you of everything you haven't gotten around to. The BBC documented sundaku as one of Japan's most psychologically precise concepts. The gap between acquisition and use, between intention and action. Keep the books you cook from. Release the ones you merely own. The disposable wrap. The plastic wrap. The aluminum foil. The freezer bags. The roll you bought a new one of before the old one ran out. and now both live in the same drawer. Japan's Madanai philosophy, the principle of zero waste, of respect for the full value of what already exists, applies to the disposable drawer directly. Every roll of plastic wrap is a decision made in advance that you will use something once and throw it away. Japan has been moving away from this decision for decades toward beeswax wraps, reusable containers, cloth covers. Madanai does not begin with how you throw things away. It begins with what you let in. The decorative object. The ceramic rooster on the windowsill. The decorative salt and pepper shakers. The bowl that holds fruit when you remember to buy fruit. The small collection of ornamental objects that haven't been moved in months and that you wipe around when cleaning. Japanese kitchens are functional surfaces, not display spaces. The philosophy is not that beautiful things have no place in the home, but that a kitchen counter exists for food preparation, and anything that is not part of that purpose is a tenant that doesn't pay rent. And here is the point most don't consider. Every decorative object in a kitchen collects cooking grease. The ceramic rooster is slowly coated in the residue of every meal you have cooked since it arrived. You wipe around it, never truly cleaning it, never truly reaching the surface beneath it. The Japanese kitchen counter is free, not because Japan doesn't value beautiful things, but because it values the morning more than the display. The knife block, the wooden block on the counter, a solid piece taking up valuable space. Inside it are knives of varying quality and usefulness. Some you use daily, others you haven't touched since moving in. Japan uses a magnetic wall strip, a few centimeters of stainless steel on the wall above the counter. The knives hang flat on it, visible and accessible, taking up zero counter space and staying significantly sharper than friction in a wooden slot could ever allow. It's not a complicated solution. It is a question that was asked and answered. Where is the best place for knives that is not on the counter? Japan hung the knives on the wall and gave the counter back to the food. A magnetic strip about 15 centimeters long. It changes the feel of the entire kitchen. The paper roll. The paper towel roll next to the sink. Always within reach, always present. Japan uses tenugui, small, thin cotton hand towels, flat, reusable, hung on a single hook next to the sink. They dry quickly, are easy to clean, and take up almost no space. They cost about €3 and last for years. The paper towel roll costs €3 a week and sits permanently in the workspace where your hands need to move freely. It is not just a question of cost. It is a disposable item so normalized in Western kitchens that the idea of removing it sounds strange. Japan made this decision once and for all, not out of environmental conviction, but as a kitchen decision. The tenugui takes less space, costs less over time, and cleans better. The paper towel exists because no one ever asked whether it should. The probably still good, not the obviously expired things. Those are easy. It's the other category. The pasta sauce opened 6 weeks ago and almost certainly still fine. The rice from 4 days ago you meant to eat. The yogurt 2 days past its date, but still smelling like yogurt. The half-full can of coconut milk covered with a bit of plastic wrap. The Japanese shun principle, seasonality and freshness, eating what belongs to this moment, produces a refrigerator that contains certainty, not probability. A Japanese kitchen does not keep probably, it keeps certainly. And this is for a specific reason more than just a question of waste. A refrigerator that contains uncertainty contains stress. Every opening is a sequence of small calculations about things you're not sure of. That is not a refrigerator doing its job. That is a refrigerator adding to the cognitive load of every meal. A Japanese refrigerator contains what will certainly be eaten. The Western refrigerator contains what might still be good. This difference compounds week after week. The everything bowl. On the counter, perhaps on the kitchen table, in the corner of the sideboard. A bowl, a tray, a basket. Some container that, without you ever deciding it should, became the place where things go that have no place. The batteries that need to go upstairs. The rubber band. The pen. The receipt. The key you no longer know what it opens. That is the everything bowl. And here is what Japan understands about it. This bowl is not chaos. This bowl is the visible proof of every decision that was never made. Every item in it is there because at the moment of its arrival, there was no specific place for it. And so it landed in the bowl, and the bowl became its place. And now it lives there, quietly accumulating, quietly registering, quietly adding its weight to the room every single morning. Japan has no everything bowl. Not because Japanese kitchens are more disciplined, but because every item was given a specific home before it was allowed into the kitchen. The bowl is what happens when that decision was never made. What remains? 15 things. None of them are clutter in the strict sense. No piles of garbage, no obvious chaos. Just 15 things that are here because they arrived. And because staying was easier than deciding. Japan decided. 15 times across generations of kitchens, Japan looked at what stood in the room and asked a single quiet question. Does this belong here? Or is it simply here because no one put it away? The woman in Kyoto with 2 things on the counter did not achieve this kitchen through discipline, through renunciation, through a dramatic life transformation. She achieved it through 15 small decisions she made once and never had to make again. Tonight, before you go to bed, go into your kitchen. Don't clean. Don't organize. Just look. Find one thing on your counter, in your drawer, on your shelf, in your refrigerator. A thing that is there because it arrived and never left, not because it truly belongs. Pick it up. Make the decision that was never made. That's where it begins. One object. One decision. The kitchen that makes your shoulders drop when you enter is not one renovation away. It is 15 decisions away. And the first one is waiting for you tonight. Perhaps tomorrow morning you will see your kitchen with different eyes. Perhaps you will notice how often you look past an object without really seeing it. Perhaps the difference between a kitchen that works against you and one that works for you is smaller than you thought. It's worth finding out, one object at a time. If this perspective on Japan's kitchen culture has changed the way you think, share it with someone who has been moving the same things around the same counter for years, wondering why the space never quite feels the way they want it to. Perhaps they are just one decision away from finding out. Take care of yourselves. Until the next documentary.